Okay.
Hi everyone. I'm tired. Like, no, I'm being literally dead serious. I am tired. The whole production of this freaking video was a pain in the to me. Like, I need to just pick 100 photos of different types of bears just to do this single episode. And it's not even the worst part. There's like over 6,000, more than 6,000 mammal species I have to do and explain. And boy, I don't think I'm gonna explain them a lot of them not much longer. I just can't keep doing this to myself. I'm literally becoming Charlie Dempler. But here we are. It's been like 6 months I haven't made a video. No, more accurately 8. It was 8 months. As you guess, either at the post or at this video title, this video, or at least the entire series, is called Mammalia, which is a series for splatubers and Splatoon fans alike about mammals. And I made this series all because that people started to misunderstand mammals a bit. Only know about Mr. Grizz and the Fussified Earthlings. Oh man. Okay, so this episode will talk about Ursidae, which is the family that where, well, Mr. Grizz is included. Okay, so without further ado, let's get things started. Now, before we dive into the evolutionary success of the Ursidae family tree, we need to talk about the biggest question when it comes of splatubers knowing about mammals. And the question is, of what even is a mammal? Now, for most splatubers, a mammal is, well, either Mr. Grizz, Judd, or these two. And these two fuzzy octarians right here that I'm showing are not mammals. They still remain in the cephalopod order, which means that these two are more related to the less fuzzy-used cousins than the true mammals. Now, what truly is a mammal, exactly? Well, a mammal is a tetrapod, more specifically a synapsid. And synapsids were these group of tetrapods that contain 3 holes in the skull. One for the nostrils, one for the eyes, and another one for the ears. One of those synapsid groups that where mammals come from is Therapsida, which is an advanced group of synapsids that diverge from the other non-therapsid cousins. One of those groups of therapsids will eventually split and turn into what is called Cyonodontia, which eventually turned to what is the mammals that we now love, hate, and fear today. In addition, synapsids like Dimetrodon and even mammals themselves have evolved from amphibious-like life forms, which first evolved from fish. And yes, this means that every single tetrapod is a fish descended from a fish. Mammals have 4 main characteristics that differ from other animals. For example, the first characteristic is body hair. The second is having high temperatures. The third main characteristic is the ability to breathe air by using lungs, which is one of the youngest organs. And the fourth and final main characteristic of mammals is able to nurture their young with milk. Now, on with bears. Now, what even is a bear? Well, bears are from the order of Carnivora. A carnivora is a specific group of mammals that include cats and dogs and their relatives, which is identified by the teeth and shape of their skulls. Feliformia is a group of carnivores that include cats like Judd and Garfield, while also including their other relatives like the mongooses, meerkats, fusas, bearcats, and even hyenas, surprisingly. Feliforms are also well known for having double-chambered ears, and they are also obligated carnivores, which means that they only eat meat. And whenever time they use a plant, they just use it as a drug. Mr. Grizz, on the other hand, belongs in the order of Caniformia, which are a group of carnivores that look dog-like, and it also includes dogs themselves, also including bears, pinnipeds, and mustelids like the honey badger. They also have single-chambered ears instead of double-chambered ears like cats and their relatives. In addition, carnivorms like dogs are facultative carnivores, which means unlike cats, they actually do eat plants. Bears are specifically part of that group, and out of all different carnivorms, bears are pretty big. Bears first evolved from Perictus parvus, which is pretty small for a bear ancestor. Bears also have a lot of extinct relatives, like Ursidae, for example, but also Allotherium, or even Acrotherium africanus. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about 14 different bear species. Well, 5 of which are subspecies. Those being like the grizzly bear, for example, and the sun bear, and the pandas, and the you get the point. You get the point. Now, anyways, let's start off this list with the brown bears. Brown bears are exactly what you think. Bears that are brown. Apparently speaking, brown bears are amongst the most famous species of bears. All because of their brownishness and whatever. Brown bears are also listed as being least concerned, with 200,000 individuals. For what they live on, it's quite simple. Take the Eurasian brown bear, for example. Eurasian brown bears live in both Europe and Asia, as in the name. Eurasian brown bears can grow up to 4 to 7 feet in length, 7.2 feet in height on the hind limbs, and 7 to 153 centimeters at the shoulder, and weigh up to 330 to 550 pounds, or 150 to 250 kilograms. These growling giants roam the ever-loving forests of Eurasia, while sniffing down unsuspected prey, like deer, for example. Oh, and speaking of deer, brown bears, more specifically the Eurasian brown bears, are omnivores, which means that they eat berries, fish, deer, and wild boars. Eurasian brown bears spend a lot of their time resting and even scratching their backs on trees. Well, it is, since some people think that bears are hibernators, it's just the fact is, bears aren't actual true hibernators. It's that people have just misinterpreted it a bit too much into seeing a bear sleeping in the middle of the winter. Oh, and one thing, not every mammal is a true hibernator. Eurasian brown bears either live in huge mountainous forests or even ponds, lakes, and rivers where they hunt salmon and other types of fish. And the shading of brown is not just a single shade, but also a wide spectrum, ranging from light blonde to tan to dark brown or nearly black, with the appearance often being a mix of these 5 colors. Anyways, now on to the grizzly bear. Grizzly bears, or Arctis horribilis, by its scientific name, is a second subspecies of the brown bear, Ursus arctos. Grizzly bears live in North America, in the United States, in Canada, Alaska, heck, they even used to roam in Mexico. Grizzly bears can reach up to 6.5 to 8 feet in length, 7 to 10 feet in height while standing, 3 to 4.5 feet while on all fours, and weigh over 400 to 790 pounds, or 180 to 360 kilograms. Grizzly bears, just like their Eurasian cousins, are omnivores, yet again. Well, it's because unlike other carnivores like dogs, grizzly bears have adapted to eat both different types of food, plants and animals, to be more specific. And just like their Eurasian cousins, grizzly bears can either live in huge mountainous regions filled with giant forests and huge lakes. They often sometimes confronted each other for food and survival. As a matter of fact, compared to most other bear species, grizzly bears have one of the biggest competitions out of all different ursids, or ursines to be more specific. Now watch as these 2 bears fight each other because one of them has entered their territory. Fun fact, Grizzly bears have one of the strongest by far out of any land bear, weighing over 1,160 to 1,200 pounds per square inch. Plus, grizzly bears are also the most famous brown bear subspecies out of all different species and subspecies of brown bears or Ursus arcticus. These two are the biggest examples. Just watch.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a grizzly bear, grizzly bear.
At the river mouth, the bears catch only the tastiest, most tender salmon. Which is exactly what we and John picked up. To bring you the best.
Knew something was wrong when a little pretty white girl ran to a black man's arms. Yeah, give away. Yeah, give away. My neighbor got big testicles cause we see this dude every day. We eat ribs with this dude. But we didn't have the clue that that girl was in that house. She said, please help me get it out.
Before we wrap the grizzly bear up, I need to explain something to you. Remember that I said that grizzly bears are the most competitive and the most aggressive? Well, there are actually two different reasons why they act like this. Number one is the coastal calories. Grizzly bears don't have any coastal calories, unlike their other cousins like the Eurasian brown bear, for example. As a matter of fact, they are more of a landlocked brown bear, and this is what a coast looks like. Now, for the second reason why they act like this is due to competition. Their conflict mainly and famously consists of wolves, but they also get a lot of payoffs from foxes. They also have to share in food, or at least try not to share their food, with their American black bear cousins, Ursus americanus. And don't give me mention on the moose, that we don't want to talk about the moose. This results in the bear being 400 to 790 pounds, or 180 to 360 kilograms, which, when comparable to Eurasian brown bears, is pretty big, but not as big as this next subspecies of bear. Kamchatka bears, also known as Ursus arcticus, or the far eastern brown bear, is the largest subspecies of brown bear species. They're the biggest brown bear subspecies, at least in Eurasia. These brown bears can reach up to 8 feet in length, 9.8 feet in height while standing, 4 feet and 7 inches while on all fours, and weigh over 1,430 pounds to a whopping 1,500 pounds, or 650 to 680 kilograms or more. Now, that's just massive! You want to know what else is massive? The low-tapered fish! The Kamchatka bears, obviously, are omnivores, just like their other cousins. In the summer period, they feed on blueberries, crowberries, humpback salmon, and steelheads, or rainbow garbs. In autumn, they eat nuts from nut pines, mountain ash, and fish. In times of famine, they eat dead fish or marine mammals, berries, and graminoid vegetation. When marking their territory, Kamchatka brown bears often prefer to rub against the trees on the sides of Kamchatka's many mountainous ranges, as opposed to trees on top or near the bottom. This is because ranges are less densely forested, allowing scents to travel farther and more freely, unlike how grizzlies mark their territory, since they're a bit limited. Kamchatka brown bears also have the highest population out of any brown bear species, with 20,000 individuals, and they're listed as being endangered. Despite that, they are still holding strong. The biggest reason for the gigantic size is the result of eating a lot of salmon. More famously and more specifically, Oncorhynchus nerca, or the sockeye salmon. The season in which has the most famous salmon hunts is Kamchatka's salmon run, also known as fat bear season, where Kamchatka bears can eat as many as 40 salmon a day during peak season to gain enough weight for their, and I quote, hibernation, by consuming over 120 pounds of fish daily to reach their enormous sizes. In comparison to grizzlies, which can only eat to 30 to 40 salmon a day, that is quite a lot. The calories in which sockeye salmons have is approximately 4,500 calories. To contain as much fat as possible, they will eat the most fatty parts of the body of the sockeye salmon, like the skin, brain, and the eggs, which are crucial for building fat reserves for hibernation. Now, for the location of the bears, it's in the high mountains of Kamchatka, in Eurasia to be more specific. And, well, even though Kamchatka bears may be one of the largest subspecies of brown bears, they're not truly the largest brown bears, because that title goes to this bear. One question before we talk about this one. The question is, how much do you know about the Kodiak bear? These giants of the mountains of Kodiak are the largest brown bear subspecies in the world, even larger than Kamchatka bears, grizzlies, and Eurasian brown bears combined. As a matter of fact, they dwarf even the largest Kamchatka bear. Kodiak grizzlies can reach up to 8 feet in length, 4 to 5 feet in height while on all fours, 10 feet in height while standing, and weigh over 600 to 1,400 pounds, or 477 to 534 kilograms. Now that's just pretty huge. Now, I did say the Kamchatka bears are the largest brown bear subspecies, but I did say only in Eurasia, because these guys are the true breadwinners here. Kodiak bears are omnivores, obviously. How many times am I going to say this? Every single brown bear subspecies is an omnivore, or facultative omnivore. Well, it depends on the subspecies. Kodiak bears get their name after the Kodiak Mountains that the bears had to force to live on. Also, they can outweigh a grizzly up to 1,500 pounds or more. In comparison to grizzlies, they only weigh about 400 or 600 pounds, or 180 to 270 kilograms. That is just massive. And that is just off the pescatarian diet. That is literally a whole mountain of a bear. Also, if you're curious, Bear A, which is the light brown bear, is a grizzly bear, Ursidae horribilis. And the much more darker brown bear, and has the thicker fur, is a Kodiak bear, Ursidae middendorfi. Now, for the reason why it got so big is due to the combination of factors that include long-term isolation on the Kodiak archipelago, which leads to island gigantism, which is the shift where small animals become giants, an abundant protein-rich diet from salmon runs, and a lack of competition and significant predators like wolves, coyotes, and foxes, for example. Kodiak bears have to eat up to 100 pounds of salmon in a good day to keep their gigantic weight. Kodiak bears also have very thick furs to protect themselves from the harsh winters of the Kodiak archipelago. Now, if you're still confused on the term of why Kodiak bears are this big, well, just take a look at these photos. This proves everything. Look at this one. Can you see how freaking big this one looks? Not to mention the fur. It's so much thicker than a grizzly's. Just look at that. It looks so chunky. And let's not forget this one. This one is a Kodiak bear next to a grizzly, while Agent 8 and some inkling boy in an Eye of Justice helmet are just posing whatever they love, and to compare the two bears and their massive size. So just look at it. Look at these two. Can you see that Bear A is the Kodiak bear? And Bear B is the grizzly. This one? Oh, please. That's just a Homo sapien compares with a Ursidae midendorfi. Just look how big the Kodiak bear is while standing. Can you see the size difference in that thing? My God. That's what I call the beast of Alaska. This specimen here was hunted down for the hunter's pictures. And just look at it. Can you see how big this bear is? Look at it. It looks like if they hunted down Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever mammalian cryptid thing they ever made up. Look at it. Do you think this is fiction? I think not. No, that is literally the opposite of fiction. That is just pure reality. Matter of fact, it looks way too much like a hoax for a bear. Like this. And look how big it's... Oh, wait a minute. That's a wrong photo. That's a wrong photo. Wrong photo! This has been a certified jungle quest. Hey guys, sorry if I put the Kodiak bear couple making sex to you. I was not expecting that. I'm truly sorry. Anyways, now that the brown bear segment is done, it's time to go with the black bears. Black bears are easily the most underrated bear species out there. Mostly it's because out of all different bear species, this one has the highest population. You get what I mean later on. American black bears live in North America, just like their brothers from another mother, which, if you don't know what I mean, I meant the grizzlies. American black bears can reach up to 4 to 6.8 feet in length, 2.5 to 3.5 feet in height while on all fours, 5.8 feet in height while standing, and weigh over to 200 to 600 pounds, or 90 to 272 kilograms. But some specimens can reach up to 1,100 pounds, or a whopping 500 kilograms on maximum. Black bears usually live in huge forested areas, but nowadays they also live in huge cities or suburbs or even neighborhoods, like Palm Bay for example. American black bears are listed as least concerned with 800,000 individuals in North America. The result of their high booming population is their diet and human intervention. Black bears are omnivores. They mainly consist of eating berries, salmon, deer, and in some cases, trash! Black bears hunt their prey by either the element of surprise, or in this video where the deer is collapsed and has nowhere to run, well, just finding the opportunity and kill it instantly before other members of the herd realize it and try to defend it. Black bears, just like most other bears, are great climbers. Plus, black bears are incredibly intelligent. Their intelligence level is a lot more similar to that of great apes. Black bears have excellent long-term memories, superior navigation skills to humans, and the ability to generalize concepts as well as display curiosity and complex problem-solving skills. The long-term memory allows them to remember food sources and routes for years, and their navigation abilities is very superior to that of humans. The problem-solving skills are very adaptable, and they can learn quickly into new situations. Studies have shown that they can understand simple concepts like quantity, and they can even use tools for tasks like acquiring food. They also display curiosity. They are incredibly curious and will often investigate new objects or situations such as camera traps. And they also have a huge complex system of intelligence, including body language, facial expressions, vocalization, touch, and scent markings. Not only are they smart enough to even recognize each other, or to even solve problems that are incredibly complex, or even remember food from time to time, but they're also smart enough to cover their footprints from hunters by using leaves. That is incredibly intelligent. Also, black bear puppies are cute enough to commit turf wars and unpredictable war crimes. Ursus americanus, or black bears, have what I would call humpback syndrome, which is the ability to produce 4 cubs per litter, which is a lot compared to that of grizzlies, which is only limited to 2 and sometimes 3 cubs per litter. And black bears are also incredibly excellent swimmers and can swim for long distances, often exceeding a mile in fresh water. As a matter of fact, one specimen had swam from the state of Florida to the absolute Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, that actually happened. During the peak of fall season, a black bear can eat up to 12 salmon a day, consuming up to 20,000 calories. That is equivalent of 40 Big Macs. The places in which black bears hunt salmon are in rivers, streams, and estuaries along the Pacific coast, including Alaska, British Columbia, and parts of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. Now, about their populations. Well, according to Jacqueline Comel, lead bear biologist for Vermin Fish and Wildlife, says that the 2 biggest drivers of the increasing bear population are habitat recovery and restrictions on legal black bear hunting. The population has been slowly growing since we began estimating the population. While there are other additional factors, like the third one, for example, is due to the fact that grizzly bears have slowly and steadily started to have their numbers decline over the past few years. This allows black bears to fully recover their numbers. As a matter of fact, black bears have outcompeted grizzlies entirely thanks to human intervention. Plus, human garbage has allowed the black bears to gain more nutrients than what grizzly bears did. These guys are practically the raccoons of bears. As a matter of fact, they are way smarter than the average bear. And I know what you're thinking.
Actually, the mama black bear you showed us earlier is actually a polar bear.
Well, guess what? You're wrong! You see, if you don't know, my fellow friends, black bears don't always live up by their names. They are intentionally not always black. Black bears, or Ursus americanus, can have 5 different types of colorations. Like the first one being black, the second being brown, the third cinnamon, the fourth blonde, and 5 straight up black. Fun fact, black bears with white fur are also known as, get this, spirit bears. Oh my god, someone is gonna love that nickname. Okay, so if you guys are a bit colorblind, or when you saw like a grizzly bear who is small but is actually a black bear, then here are some tips to know the differences between the two. The first difference is the paw prints. The front prints of the grizzly bear are flattened and a bit oval, and the back prints are at least stick-shaped. Black bear's footprints are a lot more similar to that of a boomerang, at least in the front. The black ones are at least similar to that of a stick, but smaller. Grizzly bears also have that signature hump, which gives them their maneuverable speeds. Black bears lack that hump entirely. Also, grizzly bears have much more rounded ears that are smaller, while black bears, on the other hand, have much more straighter ears in comparison. Also, grizzly bears have curled claws, who are located at the front paw, while black bear claws at the front paw are much more short and dark. Also, grizzly bears have much more shorter snouts in comparison to black bears, who have much more dog-like snouts. Also, the grizzly bear's toe structures are at the straight position, like a straight line, while black bears, on the other hand, have more of an obvious arc. I'm just gonna let you see the photo for a couple of few seconds until the soundtrack ends, so better remember that. so we're done with the black bears. Now it's on to their Asiatic cousins, the moon bears.
Yes, man, the moon bear.
Moon bears, also known as Asiatic black bears or demon bears in Japanese folklore, are the close relatives of the more famous black bears of America. Asiatic black bears are native to Asia, as in the name. They can be found in countries in the Middle East like Iran, Southeast Asia, and East Asia, including China, Korea, and Japan, and, last but definitely not least, the Himalayas. Demon bears can grow up to 50 to 75 inches in length, 130 to 190 centimeters, 6 feet in height while standing, 24 to 30 inches in height while on force, and weigh up to 220 to 440 pounds or 100 to 200 kilograms. Which, in comparison to the black bears who only weigh about 600 pounds, that's quite small. Asiatic black bears are listed as vulnerable, with 50,000 individuals left in the wild. The reason for the declining population is... oh man, I really hate China for this. Bear bile farming. Unlike at least black bears and brown bears, Asiatic black bears inhabit a lot of biomes, like forested jungles, deserts, and even high plain mountainous regions like the Himalayas. Moon bears are omnivores. Their main diet consists of berries, fish, and even deer. Though they do sometimes in rare occasions eat trash. I don't know, but since American black bears eat trash, I presume Asiatic black bears eat trash as well. I think not, but I also think as well. Out of all different bear species, Asiatic black bears have the most fur, with over 25 million to 30 million hair follicles, hypothetically. Well, it isn't confirmed, but it is most likely to have this type of number. Now, I did say before that bears aren't true hibernators, but out of all different bear species, this one hibernates the most. During the hyperphagia period, Asiatic black bears must eat and consume over a huge amount of food just to keep their body fat and enough fat to last the entire winter. The quantity of food that they must eat to keep hibernating is at least over 100 pounds of food per week, or 20,000 calories per day, just to keep enough fat to hibernate. Demon bears also get a lot of beef with tigers most of the time, and they also have huge competition with Eurasian brown bears. Let's not forget the fact that they also, and I quote, coexist with sloth bears. But they do not get along, because unlike Asiatic black bears, sloth bears are even more aggressive. Twice as aggressive as moon bears. Unlike their American cousins, who have much more straighter ears, Asiatic black bears do intend to have a lot more like Princess Guinevere style ears or a Mickey Mouse ears. God, look at these. They also intentionally makes them a bit more goofier than American black bears. Unfortunately, though, their population started declining all because of fair fowl farmings, just to use their fur for at least for clothing, because of how thick and warm their fur is. They are not getting as much numbers as their American cousins. Man, America always wins in terms of bears. And one more thing before we wrap up the Asiatic black bear. If you want to know the easy difference between Asiatic black bears and their American cousins, is that Ursus americanus actually tend to be a lot more thinner. Actually a lot more bigger than Asiatic black bears, all because of the fact that they store a lot more food and the fact that they have little to no competition compared to that of Asiatic black bears. Asiatic black bears also have a lot more thicker fur, like I said earlier, while as American black bears have a lot more thinner fur. Also, like I said a bit later, but also earlier, is that Asiatic black bears have much more rounded ears comparison to American black bears who have straighter ears. The only way that they can keep their fame, besides other videos, is a Chinese show for kids called Boonie Bears. And that's it. Okay, so now that Asiatic black bears are gone, now it's time to talk about... Stop the music! Oh, thank you. Now that the moon bears are done, it's time to talk about the sloth bears. Melursus ursinus. Sloth bears, or Melursus ursinus, are the first specialist species of bears we're going to talk about. A specialist in question is a type of creature who's adapted to a niche that no one else is able to adapt with. Melursus ursinus are native to Asia, more specifically on the subcontinent, well, used to be subcontinent, and country of India. Sloth bears can grow up to 4.5 to 6.2 feet in length, 2 to 3 feet in height while on all fours, 5 to 6 feet in height while standing, or up to 121 to 320 pounds, or 55 to 145 kilograms. It may be small, but this is not the smallest bear. As you might tell, sloth bears appear to have huge, shaggy fur. This fur is used to protect themselves from huge bites from termites and ants while feasting on them. And speaking of ants, sloth bears' specialistic diet is termites. Termites are nearly packed in protein, and a sloth bear's diet can vary by season. But termites can make up at least over 70 to 90% of their food intake, particularly when other food sources like food are scarce. And yeah, they also eat fruit and plants, since they don't just eat insects. In order to get the termites, sloth bears must use their gigantic claws to scrape the termite mounds just to suck up with their long tongues, so that the termites get stuck in the tongue and the sloth bear will slurp it all up and eat them. And you find Asiatic black bears are dangerous? Oh, no. Sloth bears are the second most dangerous. These guys had killed at least 12 people in 1957. At least one specimen called the man-eater of Mysore. Later that year, it killed 48 deaths and had injured 686 other humans, due to the result of being shot by a hunter. Most likely. It isn't confirmed, but I really like that approach because something like that is pretty rare, naturally. Sloth bears' main habitats are huge plain deserts or giant jungles covered in trees, and they can also rest in huge deserts. Also, if you're questioning of how they get this behavior, well, this is a result of competition with tigers. As a matter of fact, tigers hunt a lot of sloth bears per day. Also, sloth bears get a lot of temper tantrums from leopards, job applications from dholes, and the same elephants and rhinos who are, and I quote, chillers around tigers, also have a huge intolerance with the Balus of the animal kingdom. And yes, Balu is a sloth bear, if you did not know about this new lore. Well, even though sloth bears do not know how to kill, they just try to inflict as much pain as possible to their opponents just to keep themselves away from trouble. At least, if they try to keep themselves away from trouble. Also, if you're too stupid... sorry. I meant that if you're too stupid to realize what a sloth bear is, not actually based on appearance, then some people are confused about it and just think it is an Asiatic black bear. I know that I was confused at first when I saw a National Geographic video about bears and how dangerous they are, each one, and I just got confused with an Asiatic black bear, and I just thought it was a sloth bear. So, in order to solve that confusion, an Asiatic black bear has a much more thicker fur in comparison to sloth bears who have much more shaggy fur. Also, Asiatic black bears tend to be a lot more larger, weighing up to 220 to 440 pounds, whereas sloth bears can weigh at least 121 to 220 pounds. So, yeah, there's the size difference. At least, these are the differences that I can think about. Also, how many termites does a sloth bear need to stay alive? Well, a sloth bear needs to eat over at least 4,000 and 10,000 termites or ants in a single sighting, which is about a pint to a quart of insects. Yeah, they're specialized for this diet, with adaptations to help them suck up insects efficiently. Okay, now we're done with the sloth bears. Jeez. Now that was pretty short. I can't find any more facts. Anyways, now that the sloth bears are done, it's time to talk about a bit more weirder bear, the sun bear. Sun bears are a freak of nature, that's all I can say. Sun bears are native to Asia, more specifically Southeast Asia, even more specifically in Malaysia and Sri Lanka. A sun bear can grow up to 39 to 55 inches in length, or 100 to 140 centimeters, 5 feet in height while standing, 28 inches while on force, and weigh up to 55 to 143 pounds, or 25 to 75 kilograms, which is the smallest bear ever. Oh crap, I forgot that one. If you don't know how many sloth bears are in the world, well, sloth bears are listed as vulnerable, with over 6,000 to 11,000 individuals left in the wild. Sloth bears, on the other hand, are also vulnerable, but their numbers have declined to only about fewer than 10,000 due to habitat loss, poaching, traditional medicine, and other human activities. Sun bears are yet another specialty species of bears, yet their specialty mainly consists of fruits and honey. Sun bears usually live in huge tropical jungles covered in trees and all that sort of vegetation, where they climb and rest and they can eat honey whenever they want. Only if humans can cut down their habitat. But at least it's cured. Also, sloth bears intentionally do, in fact, eat a varieties of fruits. The fruit mainly consists of at least mangoes, bananas, coconuts, grapefruits, and tangerines. Also, they're also recognizable for their incredibly long tongues, which can measure at least 20 to 30 centimeters or 8 to 12 inches. And this tongue is well adapted to lick on its favorite diet, that being insects and honey. Sun bears rarely ever attack people. There are only about 40 different accidents between a sloth bear and human conflict. However, these attacks are accidental, and it's due to the fact that the sun bears get jump scared very easily. Also, sun bears are incredibly blind, so the accidents make a lot more sense. Just like their close relatives, the sloth bears, sun bears have incredibly long claws. They're sickle-shaped and can grow up to 10 centimeters or 4 inches long. They use these types of claws for climbing trees, digging into termite mounds, and tearing open logs to find food like insects and honey. These powerful claws are essential for the sun bear's arboreal lifestyle, supporting its body weight as its claws and allowing it to access its diet. What the flying fish fact of the day? Sloth bears have one of the strongest bite force relative to the body size out of any bear, with a maximum bite force of around 2,020 newtons, approximately 203 kilograms bite force, or 450 pounds on its real molar. Also, sun bears can climb trees, just like many other bears in the list. But, unlike those bears in the list, sun bears climb the trees the most. Intentionally, they climb trees either searching for honey, or insects, or to keep themselves away from predators. The predators in question are tigers, to be specific. These trees can be very hard for a tiger to climb up, which is why sun bears have adapted this way. And this is why they are so incredibly shy in comparison to most other bears in the list. Even though I said that sun bears eat honey, they do not eat a specific amount of honey, as it is a small part of their varied omnivorous diet, which includes fruits, insects like termites, beetles, and other small animals. Honey, as a matter of fact, is their favorite treat, and is sniffed out, and their diet is not limited to it, as they also eat protein-rich bees and larvae from the beehives. As a matter of fact, honey only reaches about 0.2 to 0.8% of protein for the sun bear to eat. However, the Malaysian bee's bee bread contains approximately 16.3 to 23.3% of protein, which is at least a bit enough, but not truly enough. Sun bears need a diet that balances proteins, carbohydrates and lipids, and also studies of captive bears showed that they self-select a diet with an average of protein content of 19 to 22% of dry matter, DM, or 17 to 21% of metabolized energy, or ME. They get the protein from animal sources like insects and rodents, carbohydrates from plants, especially fruit. Man, why do I even have to say this until you already know that? Anyways, that's all the facts. And one more thing before we close all this up. Sun bears are intentionally a freak of nature. No, I'm not kidding. They're actually a freak of nature. Because they appear to be a bit too human due to the result of their small size. Just look at this thing. Look at this. Just look at this sun bear. It's standing up. It's suspiciously like a werewolf. Not to mention, this one's taken from a Chinese zoo. And yet, this one looks even more cursed. Like, what do you mean? What do you even mean that this one's real? This is just a man in costume. Like, literally. Sun bears are literally just a person in a costume, and he was doing a very terrible job of acting natural. And that zoo was made by Tenor. Man, dude. No. There's literally, you can see the folds on the skin. Like is that even possible? Is that even a human? Man, no wonder why China has a huge controversy with the sun bears. Jesus. Hey, look at it. Am I tweaking or something? No. Oh my god. Holy crap, it's waving! Guys, that is not a bear! Oh my god!
Kung Fu Panda. Sipping on that Fanta. Sugar mama got gifts for me like she's Santa. Cutting up in a foreign in Atlanta.
Out of all different bear species in the Ursidae family tree, panda bears, or Loroponema luca, is the most distant. Panda bears are native to Asia, more specifically for this subspecies in the high mountains of Sichuan. Panda bears can grow up to 4 to 6.3 feet in length, 24 to 35 inches in height while on fours, 6 feet in height while standing, and weigh up to 190 to 272 pounds, or 85 to 125 kilograms. Oh, and if one of my viewers is deep cut, just what do you think about it? Did you love it or hate it? I'll respect your opinion, I promise. Pandas are listed as vulnerable, with over 270 individuals left. 1,900 individuals are from the wild, and 800 others are from captivity. But in each year goes by, their population keeps on growing. Man, they really have a bright future than us. Panda bears are herbivores, more specifically facultative herbivores. Their main diet mainly and famously consists of bamboo, though they do sometimes eat peacocks and small tiny lagomorphs related to rabbits known as picas. Panda bears tend to live in huge bamboo jungles or forests in the giant mountainous regions of Sichuan, which is located in China if you're curious. Panda bears are yet another specialist species of bears, and that specialty being able to consume bamboos. These giants eat a lot of bamboo daily, typically consuming over 26 to 84 pounds of bamboo, or 12 to 38 kilograms. As a matter of fact, the bamboo shoots that they eat are typically at around 2.6 to 3.7 grams per 100 grams of protein. Yes, as a matter of fact, even though bamboo seems pretty useless to eat, they're incredibly high in protein, but they're a bit low in calories. As a result of eating a lot of bamboo all day, panda bears actually have developed one of the strongest bite force out of any carnivoran, stronger than that of a tiger. Okay, I may be exaggerating a bit. Of course, tigers have much more of a stronger bite force, being over 1,000 to 1,200 pounds per square inch, or PSI. Panda bears have over at least 290 to 400 plus PSI, or pounds per square inch, which while not strong as a tiger's bite force, still enough to crush bamboo. One thing truly interesting about pandas, and probably the most saddest, is that the fact that their babies are, how can I say it, minuscule. For comparison, human mothers are 20 times the size of their own young. Elephant mothers are 45 times the size. Meanwhile, panda bear mothers are 900 times larger than their own cubs. And what's worse is that they don't have pouches. And the fact that they don't have these types of pouches, similar to that of marsupials, that puts it an instant risk of a panda bear cub being accidentally stepped on. Oh boy. And this is Winnie the Pooh. That's it. That's all I can say. Well, if you don't know what this specimen is, this specimen has a genetic condition known as leucism, which causes the low production of melanin and has a large partial loss of pigmentation, which causes their fur to become white, or in some case, in birds, when their feathers are white. However, judging by the eyes, this bear actually has been caused by albinism, which is a total loss of pigmentations. Now, for the biggest difference between the two is to see if the eyes are affected, since animals with leucism have normal colored eyes instead of reddish eyes. Now, this specimen right here was the first of its kind, being discovered not so very long ago, in the year of 2019. Okay, so panda biology is starting to get a lot more interesting, but its history on its discovery was confusing. Well, let me explain. Now, the word panda originated from the word ponya. No, not this ponya. Now, ponya originates in Mandarin, and it translates to the eater of bamboo, or bamboo eater, which fitly describes the panda's diet. Yeah, that's interesting, but the most interesting thing is, pandas are not bears. Yes, it's quite confusing, and before you say anything like, actually, pandas are bears, you're so stupid, you don't live into your potential channel name, and I do, well, sometimes, but this isn't a mistake. It actually is really important to know, because when someone talks about panda, they think about a very different animal. But okay, let me explain. The first panda was discovered in 1825 by a zoologist named Frederick Cuvier, who, by the way, named the splatoon animal that Nintendo forgot to add in the auto expansion, known as Cuvier's beaked whale. Now, when Frederick Cuvier first interpreted the panda, it didn't look like a bear. Instead, it looked like this. And that's not a bear. As a matter of fact, he wasn't referring to the bear. The panda bears weren't even discovered yet. Instead, Frederick Cuvier was actually referring to Ursidae fulgens, or as we call nowadays, as the red panda. The panda bear wasn't fully discovered until 44 years later, in 1969, by a French zoologist, botanist, and literature catalog named Armand David, and its first interpretation was this. And honestly, they got close. And to make this even weirder, pandas had never been in any Chinese mythology art, or in any Chinese mythology stories. Now, I know there are in fact bears in Chinese mythology, but many of those bears, if not all of them, are from Asiatic black bears or Eurasian brown bears. The piece of evidence of this Chinese cryptid at the time is this skin fold alongside with bones from Sichuan hunters. Now, the biggest reason why panda bears are called pandas, just like the red pandas, because at the time of the 19th century, they thought they had a lot in common with the red panda, Ursidae fulgens. However, as it turns out, they're not even close to be related. Instead, they're more of a distant species. This means that this whole time, the panda bear that we all know and love isn't in fact the original panda, but instead it's the mustaloid. And the fact that when you search Google panda, you only see the bear first, instead of the mustaloid. Just like how if you search Abe Lincoln, you're only going to see the president first, and it's very unfortunate. So yeah, even though panda bears are very cute and cuddly, and you probably can domesticate the species, just remember though, they're still bears. And a bear is a bear is a bear. Let me say it again. A bear is a bear is a bear. That's it. End of story. Next up, a living fossil of the Ursidae family, the spectacled bear. Spectacled bears, or Tremarctis ornatus, are the anti-penultimate bear in this video. Spectacled bears are native to South America, more specifically in the Chile and Peruvian and Venezuelan mountains. Spectacled bears can reach up to 4 to 6.5 feet in length, 2 to 3 feet in height while on all fours, 5 to 6.5 feet in height while standing, and weigh up to 220 to 386 pounds, or 100 to 175 kilograms.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie.
Spectacled bears mainly live in lush tropical cold tundras or small jungles in huge mountainous regions, such as in Peru, for example, or even in Chile or Venezuela, Colombia. And they're also herbivores. Their proteins primarily come from their opportunistic consumptions of insects, rodents, and sometimes small livestock, complementing their largely plant-based diet of bromeliads, fruits, and pods. Their protein percentage from fruit, it makes up a large part of their diet, being 75 to 90%. Small animals like rodents, insects, and even small livestock make up over 2 to 3%, while other plants like lichen make up at least 5% or less. Yeah, now that is incredibly fascinating. To what makes it even more fascinating is that the spectacled bears did make one single pop culture media appearance. Well, a few. Those being like Planet Zoo, that's all I'm not sure I can remember. But the most famous one is this brownish bear who lives in Peru and eats marmalade as a treat, and sometimes marmite. And that being Paddington. Paddington Brown, or brown. Just like sun bears and most other bears in the list, spectacled bears are also expert tree climbers. And more interestingly, they also make their own version of a treehouse just to keep themselves protected from predators such as jaguars. And just like tigers, jaguars are... Actually, who am I kidding? They're not like tigers. Jaguars are actually pretty cool climbers. Not gonna lie, they are actual good climbers. I was gonna say they were very bad climbers, but since the fact that I remember that jaguars are actual good climbers, and spectacled bears get their name from the markings on their faces, which able to identify members of their own species. And sometimes when I look at a spectacled bear's face, it always reminds me of pandas. And fun fact, panda bears and spectacled bears both share the exact same ancestor, being Agrioderium, which is a bear that surprisingly is from a continent that no other bear is able to be, that being Africa. And another fun fact, spectacled bears are the last prehistoric bear species. No, like literally, out of all different demarcated species, spectacled bears are the last of their kind. Basically being, these guys are closely related to the famous extinct short-faced bears, or Arctidus. Yeah, those big-ass bears who have competed with saber-toothed cats and terror birds and hunted down megatheriums and other giant ground sloths. I don't think anyone will ever harm megatherium because of how incredibly large it is. They would rather avoid it rather than fight it. Anyways, This would mean that spectacled bears also have another name, despite being Andean bear. And that is South American short-faced bear or Peruvian short-faced bear or Andean short-faced bear. And that's all the facts of the spectacled bear. That's incredibly short, but it's fun while it lasts. Now it's time to talk about the penultimate bear and the second last bear. And there's also another subspecies of bear, the Quinlan panda bear, or the brown panda. Brown panda bears, or Quinlan panda bears, are the penultimate bears in the list, also being the other subspecies of the infamous panda bears. Brown panda bears are native to Asia, more specifically in the Chinese mountains of Kunming, which is very different from the Sichuan mountains. Quinlan panda bears can reach up to 3 to 11 feet in length, 28 to 31 inches in height while on force, 2.3 to 3 feet in height while standing, and weigh up to 154 to 220 pounds, or 85 to 125 kilograms. Just like their Sichuan cousins, Quinlan panda bears mainly live in bamboo jungles on top of the mountains of Kunming from China. Quinlan panda bears are listed as endangered, with only 300 individuals left in the Quinlan Mountains. This rare subspecies of the famous panda has a distinctive dark brown and light brown or tan fur, instead of the typical black and white, a result of a specific genetic mutation in the base 2 gene, making it a unique brown panda found only in China's Quinlan Mountains. Quinlan panda bears are a lot more rare than their Sichuan counterparts, simply because they live in large Quinlan Mountains where the population is only about 300. It is incredibly impossible to find a Quinlan panda in the wild. Though one specimen named Ursidae is the world's only captured brown panda bear, and practically the most famous individual, who was born in the year of 2009. 1 year before I was born. That was pretty amazing. Quinlan brown pandas are practically the cryptid of the bears, simply because of how hidden it is, and it's quite rare to see any footage of these bears live. And that's the reason why I only shows 2 videos, because they were very difficult to find other information. Actually, it's quite hard to find more footage of this bear. Just like their more infamous cousins, they also have the ability to eat bamboo by using their false thumbs to grab them. Oh yeah, I forgot to add this earlier in the Sichuan panda segment, but Quinlan pandas have a false thumb, which allows them to grab bamboo. The same with their Quinlan cousins. Quinlan pandas unfortunately never get that much information as their Sichuan cousins. Also, they don't get any popular as their more famous Sichuan cousins, with their only appearance in pop culture being in the #1 most famous game, and the most famous sandbox alongside Terraria, Minecraft, which is referenced as a rare mob for the panda mob. Ah man, I forgot again. So if you don't know what the population of spectacled bears are, they're listed as vulnerable, and they only have over 6,000 to 18,000 individuals left in the wild. That's it. So that's it. That's all the bears talked about. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss another video on James Prime's channel. It's over. Or is it? This right here is not over yet. We only have one more bear to uncover. The last bear in this episode. And it's bigger than a Kodiak bear. You know what I'm talking about. The polar bear is the last bear in this episode. Polar bears are native to the Northern Hemisphere, and more famously in the North Pole, or more accurately, in Greenland. Polar bears can reach up to 6.6 to 8.2 feet in length, 10 to 11.5 feet in height while standing, 3.3 to 5 feet in height while forced, and weigh up to 775 to 1,300 pounds, or 350 to 600 kilograms. With the largest polar bear specimen weighing up to 2,209 pounds, or 1,002 kilograms. That is like a literal ton. Polar bears mainly live in very cold regions, such as the North Pole, but due to climate change, they soon move in warmer environments and start breeding with grizzly bears, creating hybrids known as grizzlies or grizzly bears. Polar bears are listed as vulnerable, with population number being incredibly questionable. No one knows why, but it's most likely the fact that polar bears live in cold mountainous regions that even a normal human could just die of hypothermia. The fact that it's gonna commit you on is 100% premeditated. Polar bears are the only bird species that's classified as a hyper-facultated carnivore. Their main diet consists of fish and reindeer, and they also eat primarily walruses. And since the fact that most other seals like walruses are being hunted by polar bears, this makes the chances of polar bears being big incredibly possible. A polar bear needs to eat at least one single walrus, due to the fact of how big they are. And a bear can assimilate 84% of the protein and 97% of the fat it eats. The polar bears need at least an average of 2 kilograms of 4.4 per day, which is enough for the polar bears to survive. In order to get a successful meal, polar bears need to hunt a juvenile or an old or sickened walrus member. Judging at a stronger and more powerful one is a risk of dying, but polar bears still kept surviving hunts. In order to properly kill a walrus, polar bears use their enormous and strong flight force, which is about 1,200 psi or pounds per square inch, making it the strongest out of all bear species, and it is capable of crushing thick fur, blubber, and even ice to catch seals and other prey. And speaking of prey, there's another animal that polar bears hunt on, and it's practically my favorite cetacean, and that is belugas. Yup, my favorite whale plus Fry's favorite mammal is hunted by polar bears. Yes, polar bears eat belugas as well. Man, poor Fry really has to suffer of polar bears hunting belugas, because belugas and Fry have one thing in common: big foreheads. Now, watch this part of the video where Fry made a prank after the same polar bear who hunts belugas a lot gets slipped on after airing a Mitsubishi commercial.
I wore the wrong socks. Have you tried the hot dogs here? Needless to say, I didn't get my deposit. And Viper Mitsubishi is a proud sponsor of Golden Gopher Hockey.
And that's all the bears. About time. And also, there's one more fact before we close the video. And it's about this guy. For a long time, I don't know this guy, since he's the only human around that I'm able to compare with other animals and Splatoon characters. I don't know the name of him, but until now, I was able to search in Google and I realized that his name is Song Shi Wong. And he's a very famous Chinese modeler and artist. And he, well, fun fact, another and final fun fact, I was gonna replace Song Shi Wong with Shinu from K-pop Demon Hunters because I thought it would be funny. But I just kept Song Shi Wong anyways because old is gold. And that's about it. You can subscribe whatever you want if you decided. And you can just share this video to anyone if you felt anything about it. I hope you learned something new. And as always, peace out. And don't miss another video of Genius Primates channel. Or you can miss it whenever you want. It's your decision. And for all the splatubers, Splatoon fans out there, don't forget to stay fresh! Share memories, skip through the world and I'll play the melody. Your drawings look like heaven to me. Such peace and fun, it's a love to get to see. I hope one day we will share memories. Skip the world and I'll play the melodies. 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 Melodies.